A widely known saying from the Tao Te Ching is, "In learning, one accumulates daily. In following the way, one diminishes daily." Diminish and diminish again until reaching non-action. This sentence profoundly reveals the fundamental difference between worldly dharmas and transcendent dharmas. Worldly dharmas emphasize continuous accumulation and relentless pursuit, hoping to acquire increasing wealth, knowledge, experience, connections, and resources, all of which are regarded as symbols of worldly success. In contrast, the principles beyond the worldly realm emphasize progressively reducing desire, attachment, and passion, gradually diminishing them step by step until ultimately reaching a state of transcendence beyond the world. For practitioners whose goal is rebirth through reciting the Buddha's name, if they verbally chant the Buddha's name, but their body and mind remain attached to worldly desires, how could Amitabha Buddha still guide them to the Western Pure Land? This is precisely a major misconception on the path of practice. Many practitioners approach Buddhism with a secular mindset and measure their progress by worldly standards, which is akin to climbing a tree to catch fish or marking a boat to find a sword, making it difficult to attain genuine benefits. The profoundness and completeness of the Dharma make it the supreme and wondrous method for resolving all problems. Yet this also renders it extraordinarily complex and profound. As the Venerable Masters have said, the Dharma is like a vast ocean, becoming deeper and deeper the further one goes. If beginners cannot clearly discern the righteous path, they are easily led astray. In the contemporary practice community, there exist various common misconceptions. Although practitioners exert diligent effort, they may inadvertently distance themselves further from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas due to misguided directions, and unknowingly accumulate deep and heavy karmic obstacles. This episode will provide a detailed analysis of the 5 most common and harmful misunderstandings in Buddhist practice, hoping to help practitioners become aware in a timely manner. If one realizes they have strayed onto the wrong path, they should understand that turning back is the way to safety and promptly adjust their direction to return to the right path. Superstitiously equating Buddhism with religious faith is the most common misconception. This situation is particularly common among older practitioners with lower levels of education. They often confuse the Dharma with Buddhism, overlooking the essential distinction between the two. The essence of the Dharma is the Buddha's revelation and teaching of the truth of the universe and life, designed to help sentient beings dispel delusion and attain enlightenment, understand the mind and perceive their true nature, transcend the cycle of birth and death, and establish a complete educational system for self-liberation and aiding others. After attaining enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, the Buddha realized all truths concerning both the mundane and the supermundane realms, and out of great compassion and loving kindness, he imparted this wisdom to the world. Buddhism should originally be an abbreviation for the Buddha's teachings, rather than being considered one of the world's 3 major religions alongside Christianity and Islam. The fundamental characteristic of religion lies in demanding unconditional faith from its followers. For example, Christianity teaches that those who believe will be saved, while unbelievers will go to hell. Religious leaders are often regarded as deities, and God or a supreme ruler is believed to control the fate of believers. Practitioners who have gone astray in this path tend to worship Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as gods, spending their days praying and making wishes, mistakenly thinking that these external forms alone can grant their desires. However, this is a complete misunderstanding and superstition regarding the Dharma. The awakened ones of Buddhism are guides, not rulers. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas do not engage in any doctrinal transactions with people. Bowing to the Buddha is essentially paying respect to the teacher. Seeking help from the Buddha is not as effective as seeking help from oneself. The idea that there is a guaranteed response within Buddhist practices hinges on the inevitability of cause and effect, rather than on the grace of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The Buddha clearly stated in the Diamond Sutra that if one perceives the Tathagata through form or seeks the Tathagata through sound, such a person follows a wrong path and cannot see the Tathagata. This serves as a warning to all people not to cling to the external appearances and forms of the Buddha. The scriptures repeatedly emphasize that practicing Buddhism is cultivation based on understanding, rather than blind faith. The Buddha once admonished his disciples that if such a monk hears what I have taught, he should approach it like refining gold, cutting, slicing, burning, and grinding before accepting it, and should not believe it out of mere respect, nor should he disparage self-arising faith. It means that when dealing with the Buddha's teachings, one should repeatedly examine and verify them like discerning gold before accepting, rather than wholly believing just out of respect for the Buddha. The essence of the Dharma fundamentally respects wisdom and freedom, which is entirely different from certain religions that demand unconditional obedience from their followers. True Buddhist practice should be based on the law of cause and effect, transforming one's own mind through diligent and persistent self-cultivation, rather than relying solely on external rituals and worship. Practice is like farming. One must sow and water by oneself in order to reap the fruits. If one merely prays to the fields without engaging in actual labor, even the most sincere wishes are unlikely to be fulfilled. Buddhism emphasizes transforming one's own mind and cultivating compassion and wisdom, rather than seeking help from external deities. Even in the practice of the Buddha recitation method, the true essence is not simply to pray for Amitabha Buddha's guidance, but to achieve steadfast concentration on the Buddha's name with an undistracted mind, thereby mastering control over the 6 sense faculties. Through continuous, year-after-year cultivation of meditative states, one purifies the mind and attains realization of ultimate reality. Undeniably, at different stages of practice, showing reverence and making vows to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas has its merits. However, clinging to this can lead to superstitious and rigorous fixation. The second misconception is mistaking heterodox paths, or even demonic teachings for the Dharma. During the Buddha's lifetime, the demon king Mara declared that although he could not obstruct the Buddha's teaching at present, in the era of the decline of the Dharma, 2,000 years after the Buddha's parinirvana, he would send demonic sons and offspring clad in monk robes into the monasteries, using sorcery to replace the Buddha's Dharma. From a certain perspective, this prophecy has indeed been fulfilled. The Missteps Sutra also clearly predicts that in the later 500 years, demonic paths will flourish. This is precisely the era we are living in. In the present era, the Dharma is difficult to discern. Many heterodox and demonic paths, bearing the banner of Buddhism, attract people due to their allure. Many who originally intended to practice Buddhism have thereby gone astray. Ancient Buddhist scriptures have long recorded that in the age of the Dharma's decline, false teachers spread their doctrines like the countless grains of sand in a broad river. Nearby Chan masters further warned the world to remain vigilant, not to be deceived by their arrogance, as those teachers have their own followers and clans who refuse to uphold the true teachings. He does not keep his promise. That is his own family matter. If you follow him and are led by him into the realm of falsehood, would that not be degrading? In reality, there is a clear distinction between the Buddha Dharma and demonic paths. The true Dharma often teaches the law of cause and effect, emphasizing that one reaps what one sows and focusing on long-term benefits. In contrast, the demonic paths rarely mention causality or the relationship between effort and reward, instead promoting alluring slogans such as a single shortcut, overtaking on a curve, and universal gain. These are indistinguishable from worldly scams and pyramid schemes, merely disguised in the guise of Buddhist teachings. The true Dharma emphasizes precepts, insisting that practitioners first establish a solid moral foundation. In contrast, heterodox paths often disregard precepts, sometimes even encouraging followers to break them under the guise of expediency or skillful means, treating intoxicants and meat as inconsequential. This misrepresents the Buddha's original intent, trampling upon the fundamental precepts of the Buddhist community. Even more egregiously, in order to win over followers, some heterodox masters have used the pretext of dual cultivation and realizing one's true nature to induce followers into improper relationships, a behavior that not only violates Buddhist teachings, but also breaches secular laws. Even though these heretical patriarchs may appear splendid on the surface and seem to possess boundless supernatural powers, they often ultimately cannot escape imprisonment or untimely death. This is the true manifestation of the law of cause and effect, where good and evil inevitably receive their due retribution. Moreover, heterodox paths and demonic paths often display minor supernatural abilities to confuse believers. However, these powers usually work in trivial matters, but fail in significant ones, are effective for evil deeds, but ineffective for good deeds. Unfortunately, human nature generally tends to seek ease and shortcuts, which is precisely the weakness exploited by demonic paths and heterodox teachings. They seize upon people's desires for sudden wealth or rapid success and align themselves with these wishes. Before the Buddha's parinirvana, he earnestly advised his disciples to take suffering as their teacher and precepts as their guide. In truth, there has never been a comfortable and quick shortcut in the practice and study of the Dharma. Throughout history, which great and virtuous monk has not achieved accomplishments through arduous practice? Even the most gifted sixth patriarch Huaining, after his sudden enlightenment, was still assigned menial tasks such as measuring rice by the fifth patriarch. He accepted these without complaint and never looked down upon such duties despite his enlightenment. True cultivation lies in letting go of attachments, rather than pursuing supernatural powers or rapid attainment. To discern true Dharma from false teachings, one can refer to three key points. First, whether the lineage is pure and untainted. Second, whether the teachings conform to the sutras. And third, whether there is respect for the law of cause and effect, karma. No matter how renowned a Dharma master may be, if their words and actions do not align with these three principles, one should regard them with caution. A special reminder is that when choosing a teacher, one must exercise utmost caution and not follow popular trends blindly or echo the crowd. The Buddhist saying goes, "It is better to remain unenlightened for 1,000 years than to take a wrong path for a single day." On the path of practice, right view is more important than speed. If the direction is wrong, the more diligent one is, the further one moves away from the goal. Therefore, practitioners should take the Buddha's teachings as the standard, carefully discerning between right and wrong, and not be deceived by superficial supernatural powers or shortcuts. The third common misconception is having scattered knowledge without depth, trying to grasp too much and failing to thoroughly comprehend any of it. Compared to any other worldly or transcendental teachings, the Dharma is undoubtedly the most complete, capable of resolving all problems. However, this completeness also brings a side effect. The Buddhist teachings are extremely complex and profound. Christianity has the Bible as its core text. Islam has the Quran. Taoism, despite having numerous scriptures, holds the Tao Te Ching as its most prominent work, while Buddhism possesses an extensive collection of Tripitaka and 12 divisions of scriptures, totaling over 10,000 volumes. Among these sutras, although some are Hinayana teachings that do not expound ultimate truth or provisional methods, there are also Mahayana sutras revealing ultimate reality, such as the Lotus Sutra, Diamond Sutra, Sarangama Sutra, Vimalakirti Sutra, and Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. Each contains unsurpassed wisdom that directly points to the path of liberation. All these Buddhist scriptures are exceedingly profound. Thoroughly studying any one of them can lead one to lose interest in worldly texts. Therefore, many practitioners develop a craving for the Dharma, desiring to study all the scriptures and unwilling to relinquish any single one. However, it is extremely difficult to fully master such vast and profound Buddhist teachings, and the result is often a superficial understanding of many things without true mastery of any. Even more extreme is the desire not only to learn the 84,000 Dharma doors of Buddhism, but also to merge other worldly religions such as Christianity, Islam, Taoism, and even incorporate divination, feng shui, astrology, metaphysics, and other miscellaneous arts into the scope of study, attempting to unify all phenomena into one. This not only disperses limited energy and time, but also easily leads to confusion and understanding, thereby hindering the correct comprehension and practice of the Dharma. As the Chan school says, one flower embodies a whole world. One leaf contains the Tathagata. Each Dharma gate has its own complete system and can lead to supreme enlightenment. The key is to find the Dharma gate that corresponds to oneself and to delve deeply into it wholeheartedly. Using a modern metaphor, practicing Buddhism and cultivation is like digging a well to draw water. If one focuses diligently in one spot and digs steadily downward, one will surely find water. However, if one only scratches the surface here and there, one may never be able to access the sweet spring throughout their lifetime. The proper way to study and practice the Dharma is to initially explore various teachings broadly, in order to understand which path one has the greatest affinity with and which is most suitable for one's own spiritual capacity. Once you have found a Dharma practice that corresponds to yourself, you should diligently and wholeheartedly engage in deep study and practice, rather than merely skimming over it superficially. The ancient masters have said, "It is better to delve deeply into one Dharma gate than to have a superficial understanding of many." If one only has a shallow understanding of each Dharma gate, although good roots are planted, they may not truly sprout and bear fruit due to the lack of depth. In the Sutra of Skillful Speech, the Buddha teaches Ananda about choosing a path of practice, saying it is like pure glass and an internal bright moon, perfectly complete Bodhi, not dependent on external things. This means that practice is like the bright moon suspended within the glass, which must be illuminated from within oneself rather than relying solely on external study. Only through deep practice in a single path can one realize their true nature and attain Buddhahood. Practicing many paths simultaneously may instead lead to confusion of the mind and prevent genuine benefit. When choosing a Dharma method, one must also consider one's own capacity and the context of the times. For example, in the current age of Dharma decline, sentient beings generally have shallow faculties, so the practice of the Pure Land Dharma door, characterized by the efforts of many practitioners building the path collectively, is especially suitable. Regardless of which method is chosen, the key lies in perseverance and steadfastness. If one can deeply study a single Dharma gate, diligently practice it, and persist for a long time, then true benefits can be attained from any Dharma gate. The fourth common misunderstanding is the separation of study and practice, failing to embody the Dharma in daily life. Many practitioners regard the Dharma merely as introductory teachings, completely separate from daily life, neglecting the practical significance of the Dharma in the worldly realm. This fragmented approach to practice causes them to be one person inside the Buddhist hall and another person upon leaving it, resulting in a severe disconnect between their practice and their daily life. In the Vimalakirti Sutra, layman Vimalakirti had long recognized that the mundane and the transcendental are not two separate paths. One who masters worldly dharmas naturally comprehends the supermundane dharmas, and vice versa. The two are not separate or opposing entities, but two sides of the same coin. Layman Vimalakirti himself is an incarnation of the Buddha, embodying the ideal of a lay practitioner. Despite being a householder, he is able to teach sages such as Rigaka, Sariputra, Subhuti, and even engage in doctrinal discussions with the future Buddha, Maitreya Bodhisattva, and the Buddha tacitly approves of this. This clearly illustrates that the Dharma is not about external forms, but about the thoroughness of liberation. It does not depend on whether one is ordained or a lay practitioner. Many practitioners recite the Buddha's name daily, bow to the Buddha, engage in meditation, and chant sutras, exerting tremendous effort. On the surface, They appear to have profound spiritual cultivation, but once they leave the Buddha hall, the three poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance immediately arise, making them no different from ordinary people. There's a common saying in the Buddhist community: an elder Dharma master carries an air of authority, an old practitioner has a fiery temper. This precisely refers to the phenomenon where, despite appearing to have practiced for many years, one has not truly subdued their own mind. Some people even use spiritual practice as an excuse to evade worldly responsibilities, unwilling to face their duties in work, family, and society, which is contrary to the spirit of dedication taught by the Buddha. True cultivation is not about adopting an otherworldly demeanor, but about maintaining a transcendent mind amidst everyday life. As Master Yongming Yinshun said, practice cultivation within the mundane world and cultivate within the mundane world. The sixth patriarch Huaining also pointed out that the Buddha Dharma exists in the world and is inseparable from the world. Detachment from the world is enlightenment, just like a prisoner being strangled. It means that the practice of Dharma lies within daily life. Apart from the world, true enlightenment cannot be found. If one leaves the worldly realm to seek Bodhi, it is as unrealistic as looking for the horns of a rabbit. A true practitioner cultivates meditation amidst the mundane tasks of daily life, practices compassion in interpersonal interactions, develops patience through adversity and hardship, and maintains concentration in everyday activities. True cultivation lies in inner tranquility and external unobstruction. The three essential principles proposed by Master Huaining, namely, no thought as the fundamental practice, formless as the true nature, and non-abidance as the root, clearly indicate that cultivation lies not in external forms, but in the transformation of the mind. Another common manifestation of the separation between study and practice is placing emphasis only on outward skills while neglecting inner cultivation. Some people recite sutras and chant the Buddha's name for hours each day, yet their hearts remain filled with arrogance and attachment. Some make large donations to build temples, but lack compassion toward their own family members. Others strictly observe precepts, yet use this as a means to disdain others. These all transform the practice of cultivation into an external form, while neglecting the fundamental purpose of Buddhist practice, purifying the mind and increasing wisdom. The fifth common misconception is attachment to views and a lack of genuine practice. Some practitioners have extensively studied a wide range of scriptures and possess a deep understanding of Buddhist theory, able to quote texts fluently and discuss profound concepts such as emptiness, Tathagatagarbha, and the middle way with great eloquence. However, in their daily lives, they often find it difficult to maintain a mind free from arising thoughts and remain pure and unstained. This practice of honoring the truth is indeed a precious cultivation method. Although it plants good roots, it has yet to reach the rebirth achievements and the state of dispelling delusion and attaining enlightenment as expected by the Buddha. The true value of the Dharma lies in practice, not in theory. Even with profound understanding of the most profound scriptures, without actual practice, it is difficult to attain genuine benefit. The Buddhist tradition says that a single character can unlock a profound meaning. The Tripitaka is a vast ocean of the Buddhist teachings, yet even one word can transcend scriptures. Jitongbo said that it means one should neither understand the Dharma merely at the superficial level of words, nor deviate from the Buddha's teachings to create one's own theories. Proper practice should begin with the enlightenment provided by the sutra, imprinting its teachings upon the mind, thereby closely integrating theory with practice. The Yogacara Bhumisastra mentions 5 stages of practice: the stage of self-measurement, the preparatory stage, the stage of path realization, the stage of path cultivation, and the ultimate stage. In the first 2 stages, theoretical study is undoubtedly important, but upon reaching the stage of seeing the path, reliance shifts more towards practical cultivation to consolidate the attained realization. Many Buddhists spend their entire lives remaining at the stage of self-measurement, continuously accumulating knowledge without urgently putting it into practice. Although they have received good roots, they're still far from true liberation. Actual practice does not necessarily require deliberately setting aside specific times and places. Rather, one should integrate cultivation into daily life. Whether walking, sitting, lying down, or in speech and behavior, all can serve as skillful means for practice. For example, maintaining mindfulness of one's steps while walking, being aware of whether one's speech is in accordance with the Dharma during conversation, and observing the fluctuations of the mind when facing favorable or adverse circumstances are all concrete manifestations of diligent practice. Zen Buddhism emphasizes that the ordinary use of daily life is the way, meaning that daily life itself is the path of practice. When Master Zhaozhou was asked about the way, he answered, "The ordinary mind is the way." This ordinary mind is not the habitual mind of a common person, but a pure mind that truly perceives reality and is clearly aware in every moment. Only by integrating practice with daily life can the true value of the Dharma be manifested. The 5 aforementioned misconceptions, superstitiously practicing Buddhism, falling into heterodox or demonic paths, lacking mastery and being scattered in learning, failing to integrate the Dharma into daily life, and clinging to views while lacking genuine practice, are the most common and harmful problems in today's cultivation community. Many practitioners unknowingly fall into these misconceptions, which not only distance the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas further from themselves, but sometimes also lead to accumulating more negative karma, truly causing deep regret and lamentation. Certainly, the pitfalls in Buddhist study and practice are far more numerous, including many other issues such as attachment to scriptures without understanding their meaning, focusing on form while neglecting essence, pursuing supernatural powers while disregarding precepts, seeking quick results without patience, and so on. However, the aforementioned are the most common and influential, deserving deep contemplation and awakening by every practitioner. In essence, the fundamental practice of the Dharma lies in grasping the middle way, maintaining balance witut hand-shang any extreme. It neither overemphasizes theory while neglecting practice, nor blindly pursues rigorous practice without establishing right view. It neither rejects the worldly life in favor of mere transcendence, nor clings to the world, forgetting the goal of liberation. It neither fixates solely on self-benefit while ignoring the welfare of others, nor is it entirely altruistic to the point of neglecting one's own cultivation. This middle way practice is the true path that aligns with the Buddha's original intention. The key to practicing the Dharma lies in maintaining an ordinary and peaceful mind, proceeding step by step without haste or anxiety. One must avoid rushing for quick results or pursuing the so-called single-minded path, as such attitudes are external manifestations of greed and fundamentally contradict the spirit of the Dharma. On the contrary, a steady and diligent approach to practice may seem slow, but as long as the direction is correct, the benefits gained will surely be genuine and true. Especially in the present age of Dharma decline, where beings commonly have shallow capacities, it is even more essential to practice diligently and steadily, progressing step by step. Ultimately, for practitioners of Buddhism, the most important aspects are to establish right view, cultivate compassion, observe the precepts, and maintain diligence. Right view is like a compass, guiding direction. Compassion is like sunshine, warming oneself and others. Precepts are like fences, preventing faults. Diligence is like the driving force, propelling progress. Possessing these 4 elements, regardless of which method one practices, one can truly benefit and experience genuine results. In this brief and precious human life, speak less meaningless words, recite the Buddha's name more often, constantly observe your own mind, and remain ever connected to the true Dharma. Only then can one gradually reduce karmic causes leading to the 3 lower realms and attain genuine liberation.